We are rolling, folks. Welcome to week 3. Welcome. All right, so as always, this session is being recorded for your convenience. And you'll be able to find it on, I'm going to post it as an announcement shortly after the session ends. So this week is pretty exciting. You guys are going to be embarking on your first actual presentation. Last week's 2.3 emotional storytelling was kind of like we're just getting our feet wet with the recording process, and this one we get to hammer out our first actual presentation. So I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of cool stuff, a lot of tips and suggestions, and yeah. So if you're a little foggy on what to do exactly, I think after this session ends, I'm pretty confident you're going to feel pretty good about what to do. um, Sound good? So let's continue. I love this quote. Being human and taking risks are the foundation of creative results. It's all about taking risks, right? Especially in any kind of creative endeavor. You just got to push through, be creative, because nothing ever happens. Nothing good ever happens just because. Some of the most brilliant, innovative products that we love, songs, paintings, they come from hard work. It's a result of blood, sweat, and tears, actually. Anywho, I read this quote to you guys because I know it hasn't been easy. I've I say this to all my coworkers, all my colleagues, and they tend to agree. Month one, in my humble opinion, your first month at Full Sail is going to be your most challenging, and simply because, I mean, that's not to say that your other classes down the road are going to be easy by any means, but your first month, look at everything that's going on. This is your very first class, new college. You got all these emails, all these departments, sending emails to financial aid, admissions, all this. You're talking to your online student liaison, a lot going on. Not to mention, this is an accelerated program, so getting used to that is not easy by any means. And let me just add one more thing. um, Throw into that mix your lives. Everybody here, a lot of us are taking online classes because we got families, we got full-time jobs, we got part-time jobs. um, a lot of times part-time jobs are like full-time jobs, right? So so we have a lot on our plate, and so just making it to week 3, it's a lot. It's a lot to be said, and you should be proud of yourselves. So go ahead. It's okay if you want to pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a little pat. Go ahead. Yeah. All right. Enough patting. All right. Let's exactly takes bow. But for real, this is definitely something, because I don't know if maybe you've experienced this at some point, but there used to be, and sometimes there still is, in some cases, there used to be kind of a taboo about taking online classes. Like, oh, it's easier. Oh, you're taking online classes. Oh, that must be kind of easy. No, 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 no. With online classes, you have to be extra self motivated, extra disciplined, because you don't have that teacher in the classroom, kind of barking at you and saying, "Don't forget, this is going to be due tomorrow," and blah blah blah. These deadlines will sneak up on you if you're not on top of things, right? Right? I know, Corey. It's like you have to be really self-directed, really self-motivated, and just in this program, you have to be really ambitious, at the top of your game, always, always. And it's going to be hard. I don't know if maybe you guys have already experienced some of those uh, scream into pillow moments, as I like to call them. Those very, very frustrating moments where you want to just hurl your cell phone across. No, nobody. Not that I ever do that. Come on, Eddie doesn't throw his phone. Okay, maybe once or twice, but I can do that because I have a very sturdy phone case. Anywho, I digress. But you know what I mean. Do not play that down. Don't play that down ever, because online education, especially Full Sail education online, is it's not easy by any means. But but once you get the groove going, once you start, figuring things out, because everybody's time management strategies are different. You just have to figure it out. And once you do, you'll be able to digest everything so much easier. So, quick chat about your 2.3 and 2.4 grades. I'm really enjoying those 2.3 emotional storytelling assignments. Keep an eye out for those. I'm hammering those out, trying to get those graded and get the feedback to you ASAP. So keep an eye out for those. You should see grades coming in um, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I'm doing my best to get those out to you. So if you haven't received them yet, just keep an eye out, and you will definitely receive them either today or tomorrow. Cool. All right. Let's move along. So the 3.3 presentation community discussion board. Let's chat a little bit about what the heck that is. So this week, the discussion board is all about kind of sharing. Sharing is caring. Sorry to get all cheesy on you, but for real, it's going to be about, you're going to throw something in there and kind of like talk a little bit about your workflow, how things are going, what you're working on as far as your first draft. Like, say for example, you decided to use Adobe Spark for your first draft. Chat a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about how things are going. Hey, this is Eddie Tapia. I'm using Adobe Spark for my first draft. So far, everything's going all right. I found this really cool YouTube tutorial. That kind of thing. Just kind of you're basically sharing your workflow, talking a little bit about that. That's it. Really short, simple. If you were online and you found a cool link, a cool tutorial on the program that you're using, let's say you're using Audacity and you found an awesome video, share it with the class. That's basically all that is. And so this week is really helpful in so much as you're going to find a lot of cool stuff on the discussion board. You're going to find, like say somebody is experiencing the same issue that you might be. Well, maybe somebody else has a solution for it, and you'll probably find it on this discussion board. Cool. And most importantly, what I really want you to do, and you don't have to do this right this second, but after the session, please check out the 2 student sample presentations that I posted there. I posted 2 student samples, first drafts. And so after you watch those presentations, you're going to have a really, really good idea of how to approach this presentation. Now, the samples that I posted, they're, like I said, they're both student samples. They were made by students in the past, and they're really good examples. They received high marks for different reasons. They received high marks because of the vibrant images that they chose, because of their delivery, because of the way that their narration was just really smooth. There were no pauses. Everything just flowed real nice. So I wrote a couple of other reasons why they received high marks. So you'll definitely want to check out those samples. They do a really good job of just pitching themselves as kind of future, from the perspective of a future Full Sail graduate. And they also talk a little bit about some of their professional qualifications. And keep in mind, this is all from the perspective of a recently graduated Full Sail student. So, in case you're wondering, how am I supposed to pitch myself if I haven't even graduated yet? Well, take a look at these sample presentations, and you'll see that it's possible. It's very possible, and it could be done. It could be done very well. And these sample presentations, they do a very good job of that. So check those out. Now, let me warn you though, because I've had a couple questions in the past about, yes, if you go to YouTube and you type in Full Sail creative presentation first draft, you're probably going to find a lot of student work there, a lot of student presentations. The problem is, I don't know what kind of grade they received. Maybe they got an A plus, maybe they got a C plus, maybe they got a D plus. So that's you are free to check YouTube for samples, but again, that is a disclaimer I have to throw in there. Now, the samples that I posted on this week's presentation community board, like I said, they received really good marks. Cool. All right. So, how we doing, folks? Can you guys still hear me? Sorry, my throat is just completely tore. So, here. Okay, so real quick, just to kind of, whoops. All right, so, all right, so again, like I said earlier, the 2.3 and the 2.4 grades, working on those. You'll get those back today and tomorrow. And the 3.3 presentation community board. This week, it's all about kind of sharing your workflow. If you find something cool, if you find a really helpful, relevant link that helped you out and you want to share it with the class, please throw that up there. Include that link on the community board. And check out the 2 sample presentations. Cool. All right, let's see here. Okay, and yes, please, folks, do not wait until the weekend to start on this. It's you know, you should never start. Just remember this for your throughout your career at Full Sail. Just keep that in mind. It's never a good idea to start on a major project over the weekend. Because particularly for this assignment, for a presentation, there's a number of components involved. It's not just, kind of figuring out whether you want to use PowerPoint or Adobe Spark or Keynote or Prezi, or it's not just that. There's also, okay, I got to find images, but you know what? I got to find good images. I got to find high quality images. I got to figure out what I'm going to say. I got to write out a script. I have to practice that script. All of that takes time. So you want to give yourself as much time as possible, right? Give yourself time in case something goes wrong. Because, let's face it, when you're dealing with technology, whether you've started working on computers last, in the past few weeks, or last few years, computers crash. Something about your computer will crash. So that's why you need to give yourself extra time. Cool. All right. So who's starting this project over the weekend anyway? Nobody. All right. Okay. So one more thing. Actually, not one more thing. I got a bunch of things for you. So this is important to keep in mind. Now, whatever presentation program you decide to use, make sure that you are able to go in there and make like a number of edits and changes. The reason I say that is because sometimes some of those free programs online, they might let you use the program free one time, and then maybe like 2 days later, you go back in there and you try to use it again. You try to make some changes. They'll say, "Hey, um, give me your credit card." So I don't want that to happen to anybody. Now, I think I think Powtoons does that. Powtoons is a really cool presentation program. I've seen a number of excellent presentations, but that's I believe that's one of those free programs out there that they'll let you use it for free one time, but if you go back in there, like say the next day, 2 days later, they're going to try to charge you. So just keep that in mind. Um, let's see, Adobe Spark is a good example of, I'm pretty sure it lets you make multiple changes as many times as you want. It's free. Prezi is another good program. As you know, everybody here has access to Office 365, and Office 365 has PowerPoint. So yeah, does that make sense? Does everybody know what I mean by that? Now, one of the main reasons I bring this up is next week in week 4, for your final draft, one of the most critical aspects of that assignment is you're going to need to make changes to your first draft. So, in other words, when you turn in your first draft to me on Sunday, when you turn in the first draft on Sunday, I'm going to grade it. I'm going to make all kinds of suggestions. I'm going to say, okay, this is good. Try this. I would like you to add more images. I would like you to do this. You're going to need to go back into the first draft and make those changes. That's why you need to be able to use a program that allows you to make as many changes as you want. Make sense? Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, moving right along. Okay, so yeah, the first draft is due this Sunday. It needs to have an audio narration and visuals. Now, remember your 2.3 emotional storytelling assignment, that we were just kind of like, if you want to do images, it's optional. With this assignment, with your first draft, it has to have images. It's got to have visuals. Don't film yourself. The reason is it's filming yourself is tricky. That's the whole film. You have to worry about a whole new set of factors. There's the lighting involved. The sound becomes more critical. Um, it's also very distracting. When you try to film yourself, it's like trying to do a presentation in the mirror. If sometimes it works, sometimes it's very, very distracting. Anywho, so you don't need to film yourself for this first draft assignment. All you need to do is have an audio narration with pictures. And yes, I mentioned, I jot that down at the very bottom, where I wrote Audacity. Audacity is a free online audio program, very similar to GarageBand, really user friendly. Tons of students have used it with some excellent results. So I know that if you're using Office 365's PowerPoint, you will probably need Audacity as a recording tool. It basically lets you edit your audio, do all kinds of cool stuff too. All right. So when's this baby due? When is the first draft due? Who's on it? Yes, Herman's on it. Anthony, yes, Stephen. Excellent. Okay, good, 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 good. Thank you, James. Very well. All right, so, all right, you might want to screenshot this right here. This is extremely important. So the very first slide of your presentation, of your 3.4 first draft presentation, has to have the following. It has to have your name, the date, the exact name of the assignment. In this case, it's the 3.4 first draft. I also need you to jot down the exact time. How long is your presentation? I don't mean the number of slides. I need to know like how long it is. Now, in this case, remember, the presentation's got to be between 3 to 4 minutes long. So jot down how long it is. Very, very important. And last but not least, I need to see a slide for your sources. Now, this can be included at the very, very end. You can include your slide for sources at the very end of your presentation. I just need to see where you found all of your images. Now, by that, I just mean just include the original link. Like, say you don't have to do it in any kind of APA format. Just give me the original link or any kind of reference ID. I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. So don't write like when I click on your sources page. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see all images found in Google Images. No, that tells me nothing. At least include the link, the original link where you found that picture. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, so this slide, very, very important. All right, so we need your name, the date, the name of the assignment, the exact duration. And somewhere at the end, include a slide for your sources. All right, moving right along. So, yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Your presentation's got to have a slide for sources where you found your images, or maybe if you included some kind of background music. Maybe you included one of your own original songs or original drawings. I need to see that. I need to know without a shadow of a doubt, who drew that, who painted that. There should be no question at all. All right, let's see here. Yeah, go for it. Steven, you have a question. Go ahead, man. Just go ahead and type it in the chat box. I see a couple questions. Yes, exactly. You're gonna. Steven said provide a link to each image. Yes, 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 yes. Please, please, please. Yeah, George. Basically, citations. Yeah, it's another way of saying citations. Yep. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I basically just don't. Um, like sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes I'll see on the sources page, I'll see someone wrote down all images found in Pixabay. That tells me nothing. All right. Okay, another. What would we put for our work? Very good question, Christian. You mean like if you drew something? A lot of people in game art, a lot of students in the past in game design, they like to include some of their character sketches, some of their level design work, and that is cool. That is totally fine. What I would do is just the more information you jot down, the better. Like if you drew something original and you included it on slide 3, that should be listed on your sources page for sure. Slide 3, image, Christian Miranda Belay. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. And you know, if you have the name of the sketch or the illustration, throw that in there as well. The other thing I would do also is maybe sign it at the bottom, or just like a little kind of write down a little text blurb at the bottom of the image somewhere, that when you're showing that presentation, you see who did it. Okay, this is Christian's work. What you don't want to do is you don't want to show a presentation and have have the viewer wonder. There should be no question. Like I said earlier, there should be no doubt. Okay, that this is Christian's work. How do I know that? Because he wrote it. He wrote it at the bottom of the slide, and he wrote it at the end of the citations page. So yeah, okay, so on this slide right here, set presentation to run automatically. This is very, very important as well. Now, every presentation program is a little different, but they all have this feature. It's usually as easy as you can find it at the top of the control panel. There'll be a little feature that says set to run automatically, set to run whatever. Just make sure that it's set to that everything in your presentation will run automatically. So your audio and the images, they should play by themselves. In other words, when I fire up your Keynote or your PowerPoint, whatever it is that you used, when I open that file, it plays automatically. I don't have to press an audio speaker button here. I don't have to click there so that it matches there. And you know, you never want to do that. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but what happens is you lose control of the presentation. It's kind of like trying to give a live presentation and handing someone else your clicker and telling somebody else, okay, go ahead, click. Okay, click now. Okay, click now. No, you lose momentum when you do that. Does that make sense? So this is really, really important in it's kind of like turning in a demo of a song or an album, and writing a little note saying, please fast forward to track 12, minute 2 and 21 seconds. You never want to do that. All the presenter or all the viewer or client has to do or should do is just press play, sit back, and watch your awesome presentation. That's it. You always want to be in full control of the presentation. Does that make sense? So just make sure that your presentation is set to run automatically. All right, enough of that. So yeah, I'm sure everybody's rolling their eyes. I can just tell. Before you submit, play it back, watch it, listen to it, time it, have someone else watch it. Now, the reason is, you guys know, this is a no-brainer, but it's understandable when you've worked on a project for hours and hours and hours, and you just wanna turn that sucker in. But you will thank yourself if you play it 3 times, 4 times, and have somebody else watch it, because believe it or not, somebody else might be able to catch a mistake that you missed. They might say, "Hey, did you mean to say that on slide 4?" Or "Did you know that you didn't pronounce your degree program correctly?" So it's important in about 1,000 different ways. Um, duh, 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 duh. So I'm just going to read George's question just to make sure I understand. Could we speak about what we're presenting as well as videos and pictures, like not make it a long, boring description, but provide a better perspective for the person reading it? Well, typically, George, in this kind of presentation, in your first draft, this is a creative presentation, and I can't stress that enough. We want everybody to be creative. We want you to utilize evocative images in your presentation. We want you to really push the emotional envelope, because Essentially, this presentation is a pitch. You're going to be picking a company of your choice. Let's say, for example, your dream is to work for Blizzard Entertainment. I don't know. That's the first company that came to mind. I'm sorry. Sorry if you hate Blizzard. Your dream is to work. Okay, or maybe Pixar. Your dream is to work for Pixar. So this is going to be a pitch. So you're going to be talking to Pixar in terms of like, I'm a recent graduate of Full Sail. I studied these courses. You're going to name a handful of courses. I'm proficient in these software programs, and this is essentially why you should hire me. But you're going to be using evocative images to persuade them. You know that so yeah, it should not be boring. It should be memorable, and there's no better way to make a presentation more memorable than using unforgettable images. You know, you use emotional, personable stories. So it's not just about, I'm saying I'm creative or I'm a hard worker. Show us, show Pixar that you're creative, show Blizzard that you're creative, right? Um, duh, 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 duh. So yes, and that's another good question too. The first draft is the final draft. So in other words, I don't want you guys to think of the first draft as a rough draft. The first draft should have everything that the final draft has in it. In other words, what sometimes is a little bit of there's sometimes some confusion there. People might think, oh, this is just a rough draft, so I don't have to have pictures in it. My final draft will have pictures in it, but this is just a rough draft, so I don't have to have. No, 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 no. It's got to have everything in it. It's got to have images in there. It's got to have your narrative in there. And like I said, once you watch the sample presentations, you're going to have a much better idea of how to attack this assignment, how it's done. So yeah. All right. So couple of tips on some presentation do's and presentation don'ts. So one thing I should not see in your first draft and your final draft, I shouldn't see bullet points. Now, we used to see tons of bullet points in presentations, like maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? That was the rage, because that's one of the main differences with this kind of class, with this kind of creative presentation class. Nancy Duarte's Slideology and Resonates, she really emphasizes and encourages utilize color, utilize powerful images to engage your audience. Words, if you just throw up a bunch of words on the screen, and if you just have a bunch of bullet points on the screen, that's not memorable. People are not going to remember that, right? So we should not see bullet points. This is particularly since this is not an informational presentation. If I was showing you guys a kind of step by step, all right, this is how you plug in your computer. First, you unwrap the cord from the box. Then you stretch the cord onto the nearest outlet. Then you plug in the outlet into the whatever. You know what I mean? If it was something like that, if it was an instructional video, bullet points might be acceptable, but in this case, we are trying to persuade our viewer. We're trying to inspire them, and there's nothing inspirational about bullet points. All right, so no bullet points. Oh, by the way, should you have bullet points? No. Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, that is correct. Should you have bullet points? No, 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 and no. No, 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 no. All right, moving right along. Another presentation no-no is having a huge block of text on your slides. There should not be a big wall of words on your slides. Now, there's a couple of different reasons why that's a no-no. Number one, it's more effective to utilize powerful images instead. It's more effective to use color to your advantage because, as Duarte recommends, you different colors evoke different emotions, so we want to use that to our advantage. Right? We want to use that to our advantage. So we shouldn't have a big block of words on a slide like this, right? We used to see this in presentations. And what would happen? What would happen? The presenter would read it word for word. You'd be sitting in the audience or in the classroom, and the presenter would read every single word. Not only is this just, it's kind of daunting. It's very overwhelming. It's kind of obnoxious. And it just kind of dumbs down the audience. You never want to do that. We are all guilty of doing that, Corey. But as far as this type of presentation, as far as creative presentations go, whenever words are concerned, less is more. It is, George. That is a lot of reading. Yeah. So be creative. How could we be creative? By using images, powerful, evocative images. All right. So be thinking as far as words go. If you want to have words in there, just think, are my words powerful? Are they meaningful? Are they short? Quotes are great for that. You can use a quote because quotes are designed to make your listener, to make your viewer think and go, people often remember quotes. They're powerful. And they're not typically very long. So if you got to throw some words in there, make them short, impactful, purposeful. A quote is totally fine. Here's an example. You guys see this okay? Yeah, this is an example. It's not a long quote, but it's memorable. And look what I did there. The right image can make can have, you can have double impact with the right image. Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you will come to a better place. Anybody know what that's from? You're going to Google it, aren't you? It's fine. It's from the animated series Avatar, The Last Airbender. I'm a big nerd, sorry. Anywho. So yeah, this is more along the lines of, if you got to have words in there, it's this is what you want to do. You want to have a meaningful picture as your background. Notice what I did with the picture too. I stretched it. I filled up the entire slide. I can see the words, they pop out, and the image is not lost. Okay, so yeah. So always use a powerful image. That's why I encourage you guys to, don't wait until the weekend to start this, because it sounds like it doesn't really sound like a big deal. Okay, I got to find images. No problem. I just jump on Google. Finding the right image is tricky. Like if you go into Google right now and you type in the word creative or inspiration, you don't want to just choose the first image that comes up. You want to find the most powerful image. Because you know what's going to happen is chances are somebody else is going to use that same image. Anywho, so yeah, use a powerful image. Give yourself plenty of time to search for the right image. Here's another really good example. This is what I want. This is more along the lines of what you need to be doing as far as image formatting, as far as using short purposeful text, right? So first, let's take a look at the image. And we did a few examples like this in week 1, but again, this is what you want to do for your first draft, for your image. Make sure that the image fills up the entire slide. We get to really appreciate the image and its, everything about the image. If we kind of just maybe use a collage effect or have it off-centered, we don't really get to see everything about the image. And now notice about as far as the font color, as far as the text, I don't have a lot of words here. But what I do have there pops out with the color choice, right? The font size, where it's placed on the image, that's also very, very important. Now, when you throw text onto an image, you want to make sure that it's not lost in the image, depending on where you place it. Does that make sense? Let me know if it doesn't. But okay, so this is a good example of what I want to see. I want to see you really fill the slide with the image. Avoid the collage effect. You know what I mean by that? The collage effect? Like when you have 7 different images on one slide kind of crammed together, that's not good. You don't want to do that. That's visual vertigo. It's too much for the eye to look at. And you might have spent hours finding those images, but they will never really be fully appreciated because they're kind of crammed in that one cluster. So you want to, stretch the image, have the image fill up the entire slide. Yes, high quality images only. Avoid using anything that's pixelated or blurred. That's even another reason why you want to give yourself a lot of time to find your images, because I want you to use high, crisp, clean, high quality images. Cool. Creative Commons is a great place to find some copyright free images. Archive.org as well. That's good. All right. Choose your images wisely. It sounds like a no-brainer. You're like, no duh, Eddie. Of course I'm going to do that. It's tricky. It can be tricky. No clip art. Steven's all bummed out. Sorry, Steven. Sorry, my friend. You guys know what I mean by clip art? I'll show you an example. You know, it used to be the rage. Clip art used to be the rage, and like 15 years ago, with all kinds of presentations, and sometimes you might still see it. I like clip art. Clip art is great for let's say you want to make a coupon booklet, right? You see them a lot in little coupon booklets, like 2-for-1 socks, and you'll see like a little light bulb with a smiley face on it. Um, that's fine, but clip art doesn't. It's made for one reason, for mass consumer use. It doesn't generally depict any kind of emotion or emotional impact. All right, so here's an example of clip art. Yeah, and if you just type in, if you go to Google and you type in Microsoft clip art, you'll see a ton of examples. But this is one example of clip art. So I don't want to see it. No clip art, please. No clip art. The idea, you're trying to really move your audience. You're trying to inspire and get, I don't know, let's say you're pitching to a major record label. You're trying to inspire them and move them. Clip art isn't the way to go. Here's another example of clip art. You guys know what I'm talking about now, right? You've seen this before. Here's another one. This is a good one. But Eddie, it's got color. Yes, it does have color, but it's kind of dry. It doesn't do anything. It's not personal. And that's the thing about clip art. The idea behind this type of presentation, you got to connect. You got to connect with your audience. You got to move them, inspire them. Yeah, Corey, actually, that's a really good example. It is all over elementary school textbooks, and it's a shame. We should be inspiring the children of the future. All right, so here's another one. Yeah, no smiley face clip arts, please. Okay. Now going back to elementary school, you're saying, yeah, essentially. All right, so let's take a look at this. Anybody in game design or game art? Ooh, got a couple people. All right, so we got a couple of examples. Okay, so cool. So listen to this. Check this out. All right, so I'm going to give you an example. Um, let's say that your dream is to work for Square Enix, right? Um, and you're pitching to them, right? And you want to include you have your presentation is 20 slides long. And when I open your 20 slide presentation, I see 18 of those slides with just gameplay images. There's nothing but Square Enix games. Now you might think, hey, that's cool and everything, but here's what I want you to think about. They know what their games look like. Same thing if you're pitching to Insomniac, uh, Blizzard, EA. I don't care who it is. They know what their games look like. Show them something different. Show them something that they might not have seen before. They're they're going to be they'll open up your presentation, they'll see just like their games and they'll be like, okay, I worked on that, thank you, I'm glad you know. I'm glad you know what our video games look like. So it doesn't really do anything. It does there's nothing new about it. And the idea is to be thinking outside of the box. The idea is to be, think about showing them something they might not have seen before. So here's the thing. I don't mind if you use a couple of images, just to give them an idea that, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I've played your games. I know what your games look like. That's okay if you want to use a couple, but the majority of your presentation should not be just riddled with gameplay, right? Does that make sense? Anyone? Like I said, you can use a couple of images, but be thinking, all right, I need to show them something different. Same thing if you're like if you're in graphic design or computer animation, or yeah, and your dream is to be an Imagineer or work for Pixar or whatever, something like that. And you have a 25 slide presentation, and 24 of those slides are just nothing but Disney character pictures. Like, okay, I see slide one's a picture of Mickey, slide two's a picture of Aladdin, slide three is, you know what I'm saying? And on and on and on. And the whole thing is just Disney, pictures of Disney movies. They know what their movies look like. They know they worked on those characters. So you're not showing them anything new. So the thing to think about, again, think outside the box. Think about showing them something they may not have seen before. No worries, Anthony. Like I said, this is all being recorded, so no worries. It's all good. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense, because that's important. This as far as like choosing your images wisely. Anybody in music production? I'll give you guys an example about music production. Okay, cool. Yay. All right, so let's pretend you're in music production, right? And your goal is to open up your own record label and your own recording studio. Now, it might be tempting to create a presentation where you have you have a ton of images, where you show pictures of multi-million dollar mixing consoles, pictures of expensive microphones, and so on. Um, but the thing is, if you're pitching yourself to a recording label, they know what that stuff looks like. They work on that equipment every day. So it's not really inspiring to them. They work on it every day. Think about showing them something they may not have seen before. So that's all I'm saying as far as choosing your images correctly. Whether you're in music production, whether you're in even if you're in mobile apps or any kind of technology degree, do you really want to be showing me pictures of iPhones and Android? I know what a cell phone looks like. Even if you're pitching to Apple, show them something different. All right. Yeah, show your audience something they haven't seen before. So, as far as your presentation, the goal, since this is a pitch, you want to focus on your professional background. If you were in the military, share a story where your determination or your work ethic is really reflected in that story. It's a lot better than just saying, "Hey, I'm a hard worker." These companies, they hear that every day, probably 100 times a day, maybe more. So if you're going to say you're a hard worker, back it up with a specific example. If you're going to say you have an attention to detail, give us a story that reflected that quality about yourself. Tell us the different software programs that you have become proficient in. Talk to us about some of the courses that you completed at Full Sail upon graduating. I don't mean now listen. I don't. I'm not going to get hurt feelings if you don't mention creative presentation. You have to think about what's going to be best for in a pitch, like to a video game company. Think about that's why I always encourage students in this assignment, go to your degree program. Go to your degree program on the Full Sail website, click on your specific degree program, and there is a downloadable document that lists out every single course you're going to be taking from month 1 all the way up until graduation. If you haven't done that already, you got to do that. It's so important, so helpful for a number of reasons. In this case, for this particular assignment, it's going to help you really pitch what you've done at Full Sail. It's going to help you outline your Full Sail journey. You'll be able to talk about some important courses that are going to lend to your credibility. That's why, if you're pitching to a game company and you say, I went to Full Sail, I took finite math and English composition and creative presentation, they're going to be like, okay, but what have you done as far as game related courses? Right? So that's why you want to really pick a handful of courses that you think that interviewer is going to be interested in. That's a tough question, Herman. Herman said, how would we go about incorporating our sense of humor with our picture choices while also remaining professional? That's tricky because, one thing that Duarte talks about is really focusing on your audience, really, and remember your audience. Remember, try to widen the demographic as much as possible, and never presume to know your audience, because what might be comfortable to you might not be comfortable to them. So I would say just play it safe. And if you feel like, well, I kind of think this is all right, but I'm not sure. If you have any doubts, just run it by me. Email me after class, and I'll be happy to give my 2 cents about. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like I don't know. As far as like, imagine that it's kind of like a video resume. So really think about it in terms of, this is your first impression. I'm not saying come off all stiff and robotic, but yeah, think about your audience and think about, Is this going to be okay? All right. So moving right on. So like I said earlier, pick a handful of industry specific courses that you can talk about. That you can talk about in your presentation. And as I mentioned earlier, don't just say English composition and creative presentation or psychology of play. Think about what classes are really going to lend to your credibility. If it's a position that is related to presenting, like let's say you're applying to some CEO position, well, CEOs, they generally have to give presentations, and so in that case, yeah, creative presentation would be relevant. Anywho, avoid long intros, any kind of mundane details, folks. Unless they add to your resume, leave it out. Unless they are inspiring, leave it out. Like what sometimes I see a lot of is people will talk about, okay, I was born here, I went to elementary school here, then I moved, and then I went to middle school here, then I moved again, and I went to high school here, I graduated from high school, and then is that really important? Do you really want to add that? Because you know what? The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking, and this is a pitch. So you really have to think about that. Now, if it's relevant, if you think it's going to add to your resume to mention where you went to high school or to mention something that happened to you in high school, like maybe you won a major like a national robotics award. Yeah, that would be impressive. That would be impressive. Then by all means mention it. But the idea is talk a little bit about yourself, where you're from, but then dive right into the meat of it. What you know, what you can do for them, what you believe in, and so on. And yes, write a script, folks. Do not try to improvise this. Improvising is like, yeah, you're begging for trouble if you don't write a script. Write a script. And by writing a script, of course, I'm not talking about a screenplay. I just mean like write out what you want to say. This is going to really help you focus and stay on track. Stay on track and meet, number one, meet the time requirements. Because if you don't write a script, you're going to be tempted to improvise. And what's going to happen is there's going to be some pauses, some awkward silences, some you knows, some like, and that's what's going to happen if you don't have a script. So what I recommend is write a script first. Of course, rehearse the script, right? And once you feel like you got a good solid script going, rehearse it. Rehearse it. Rehearse it so much that if I said to you, okay, read me your script right now, read it to me over the phone. You should be so good at it that if you read it to me over the phone, I wouldn't even know that you were reading from it because it would sound so natural. That's the idea. You got to be comfortable enough with your script that you can read it and it sounds just like you're talking conversationally, sounds natural, right? So that is the idea behind that. Okay, so yeah, definitely rehearse your script. All right, anybody here thinking about background music? It's optional. You don't have to use background music. Sometimes I like to suggest it if, let's say, for example, you got a good script down and you rehearsed your script and you recorded your voice and you feel like, you know what, I still sound so boring. Man, that background music might be the way to go. But there's a huge, huge but in here. There's a huge however. Background music, it's like it's a lot like film scoring, to be honest, because the wrong music can destroy the dialogue. The wrong music can destroy the movie. um, so what you want to do is choose your music wisely. Choose music that doesn't have words, that doesn't have lyrics, that doesn't have screeching guitars or like um, prominent bass because it's distracting. You never want to distract from your voice, from your message, because your message is the number one factor in this presentation. All the music should do is just give your presentation a really subtle kind of push to help it along the way, to help the flow. So if you want to use background music, WeStar Music, that is a music database that you can find inside the Full Sail Online Library. Just look for research databases. And WeStar Music is a huge, huge music bank. They got all kinds of like sound effects, music that you can use royalty free. Pretty cool. And it's free to you guys, it's free to Full Sail students. So I always like recommend just using something subtle, something soft, like a soft bed of music. Classical music, you would think is good, but people don't realize how dynamic classical music can be. Maybe at one point the classical piece is really soft, but 1 minute later it's just pounding away with timpani and trumpets and trombones. So it's got to be steady, whatever you use. Um, Now, I may have shared this example with you guys earlier. A student who turned in a presentation. His delivery was excellent. His message was really, really powerful. Um, but he used his background song. He used I actually like the song a lot. It's a song by Eminem. It's called "Lose Yourself." I'm sure you're familiar with it. Great lyrics. The song's got a great energy to it, but when he played it alongside his presentation, alongside his narration, it was really distracting, and it almost became like a competition between his narrative and the background music. You don't want that. You don't want that. Make sense? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. So tricky. It's really, really tricky. This background music thing. All right. Speaking of audio, so yeah, try to record in a noise-free environment. If you have little rugrats, little munchkins, maybe record when everybody's asleep, in a distant room. That might work best for your situation. Oh yeah, avoid recording right next to an AC unit, any kind of fan, any kind of like refrigerator, noisy refrigerator. There's people in the background. Oh, and people, listen to this. It sounds ridiculous, but I can't tell you how many presentations I've heard where you could hear the low battery smoke detector alarm. You know that little beep? Oh my gosh, folks. I don't know how people can live like that. And this beeping sound goes off like every 17 to 21 seconds. So during the presentation, every 17 seconds, you will hear a beep. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so thank you, Stephen. Yes, change the battery. Number one, it will save your life. And number two, it will it will just improve the quality of your presentation because it becomes so distracting. You don't want your audience, your listener, to be paying more attention to what's in the back of your presentation than your narration. So yeah, it sounds ridiculous, I know, but I there have been so many presentations where this has been the case. All right. It's all about focusing on your audience. Be thinking about your audience. This will kind of relieve the tension and the anxiety because when we think about ourselves, okay, I sound so bad. I don't sound good. No, don't worry about your sound so much. Don't worry about the sound of your voice. Think about your message first. Think about how that resonates with the audience, right? And show, don't tell. Avoid any generic resume catchphrase. You guys know what I mean by this? What is something that people love to write on resumes that are just overused? They're cliches. I'll give you guys a couple examples. Check this out. I'm creative. I'm a hard worker. I'm a team player. Hire me. Yeah, all of these things, they're cliches. They're just resume catchphrases. You want to avoid them? Instead of saying I'm creative, instead of saying I'm a hard worker, tell me a story where you exhibited that quality. That somebody's going to remember that so much more. They're going to, let's face it, people remember stories than they do just words, just statistics. Now, it's okay, like when you're sketching out your script, you can say that. I'm not saying you can't say I am creative, but you know what? Back it up with a story. All right. And don't forget your star moment. Now, I was looking at a bunch of the 2.4s, and I think we have a little bit of confusion with the star moment. What it is exactly? Something they will always remember. Something they'll always remember. There's different kinds of star moments. Now, it could be a repeatable soundbite. Like a lot of companies, they use repeatable sound bites. That there's something that a company will always. There's a few words in their companies that they'll always use in their commercials, right? And we remember that. It's a catchphrase. You could do something like that. Um, you can use evocative visuals to be your star moment. Oh man, that presentation had some really powerful images. Or it could be a personal story, something a really powerful emotional story that you want to share with your audience. It could be that. It could be a quote. As I mentioned earlier, quotes are often memorable. 5 types. I'll show you guys. Memorable dramatizations. Like any kind of story, a repeatable soundbite, evocative visuals, emotive storytelling, and shocking statistics. Shocking statistics are interesting. People remember shocking statistics. But be careful with those because you don't want to talk to somebody and share something that they probably already know. Now, you can say something like, as you may know already, the video game industry, blah, 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 and share a shocking statistic. That could be powerful. That could be memorable. So, as far as shocking statistics go, whatever it is, whatever you use, make sure, try to dig a little bit, for it. Try to make sure that it's not something so obvious. Like, oh, the video game industry is booming. I think everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, right? Or technology in this era is really booming. We know that. We know that. Repeatable. What does this company use as their repeatable soundbite? You guys, come on. Come on. You know. What's one of their catchphrases? Thank you. Yeah, you got it. You got it. See, you know what I'm talking about. Evocative visuals, powerful images, images that tell a story. And then with a shocking statistic, you match it up with an evocative visual behind it, like so. Right? Now, I am going to shift gears a little bit, and excuse me, just let's take a look. See, no, I want to open this first. Okay, so when I go to the first draft, you guys still there? When I go to the first draft activity link, this is what you'll see. These are the general instructions. And then down here are the downloadable instructions and the rubric. So just to kind of go over, we talked a lot about this. I'm just going to review this quickly. For this assignment, create a presentation pitching yourself and your personal brand. What are you all about to a prospective employer based on the plan that you drafted last week? What if your plan changed? That's okay if it changed a little bit. Like if you maybe last week you said that you wanted to work for this company, and then this week you changed your mind about that company. That's okay. That kind of change is okay. And if you have any question about that, just email me. I'm happy to chat about it. So the delivery should be 3 to 4 minutes of audio content enhanced with imagery, enhanced with pictures. So you can use a presentation program like Keynote, PowerPoint, Prezi, Adobe Spark, Google Slides, even. And for audio programs, like I said earlier, Audacity is pretty excellent. It's online, it's free, very user friendly. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube on how to use it. Like if you're using PowerPoint and you go to YouTube, you can even type in using Audacity with PowerPoint. You'll find a tutorial. Yeah, YouTube's pretty amazing. There's a lot of great stuff. There's some garbage on there as well, but just sift through the sea of garbage. Um, so let's see here. You can if you have a MacBook Pro, you should have GarageBand on it. So that could be your audio program. All right, so moving on. As a reminder, you'll project yourself as a graduate from the program that you're entering now. Use examples of things that you're planning and hoping to do while at Full Sail as if you've accomplished them already. Include skills you'll have acquired in your degree program. Your concepts and ideas should be clear, and the visuals you choose should enhance your message. Right? So this assignment, a lot of it is based on the research that you did last week for your plan. So the information, if you did it right, it should be very helpful. So let's say, for example, you were researching a position at Universal Studios in their, I don't know, creative director department. You were researching that position, and you learned exactly what software is required for that position. You learned exactly how many years of experience is required. That will be very helpful in your pitch. That way you can say, I'm a recent Full Sail graduate. I studied this class, then blah, 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 blah. I am proficient in this software program. My goal is to work with your company and to help in this area, and so on and so on. Now, to get a much better idea of what I'm talking about, I urge you, please check out the 3.3 community board, because I posted 2 sample student presentations. I know you guys that have been with me since the beginning of this session, you already heard me say that. I'm just a reminder. But it's going to be very, very helpful to you to check out those sample presentations. They're really good, really good. They received really good marks. But let's see here. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to okay, so these are the downloadable instructions, and it basically kind of reviews and reiterates what I've been talking about this whole session. Cool. Right, so let's go back. All right, so this is due Sunday, folks. So very, very important. Make sure your first slide presentation has this information on it. All right. We went over. Oh my goodness, I went over. Folks, I'm so sorry. All right, so where can I find student sample presentations? Quick quiz. Yes, 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 yes. You are correct. The 3.3 community discussion board. I posted that earlier. Please check them out. Please check them out. All right, folks, we are out of time, but if you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to email me. As always, I'm going to post this recording. Just give me a little while to process the video. And it'll all be up there this afternoon. Cool, folks. Thank you so much for your patience, folks. Get on the assignment. Don't wait another minute. All right, folks. Take care. Have a wonderful day.